What up, Wilders? BelsheBits here, where I break down the complexities of Wilder World into manageable bits of information. And by popular demand, I'm going to be going over the roadmap. And I've been trying to think of a really interesting way to be able to approach this, where even those that fully understand what's going on with the roadmap might be able to get a new take on what the roadmap is and some of the ways that we should be thinking about why the Wilder World team is making the decisions that they are. And I started thinking about a really interesting video that I watched with Asmongold, and I think her name's Alana Pierce, I believe, talking about some of the recent close downs of gaming studios, how Microsoft is shutting down a bunch of different gaming studios because they're just not producing games that are profiting them enough. Even though Microsoft is a $3 trillion company, they at the end of the game, it's all about making profit. And so throughout this roadmap, I want to bring up some of the different points that they make, and I'll leave a description down below and of where you can go watch that video. It was a really interesting take on how they feel, why they feel like Microsoft is making the decisions that they are, and what that means to the gaming industries, and how indie games should be able to, quote unquote, save the gaming industry. I don't think the gaming industry is really going anywhere, and I don't think that was really their point either. But it definitely adds an interesting take on what direction the gaming studio is going, because they don't really talk about play to earn gaming because it's not big enough yet. And I think with Wilder World, if they really produce a really good game and a multitude of games that all are combined together to create Wilder World as a whole, and they show that the different technologies that they've built, where Wilder World is built on top of, can really produce an opportunity for an indie gaming studio like Wilder World to produce something that attract people, because essentially that's what we're all vying for. Any company looking to do well within any type of space, it's how much attention can they take from an individual, because Netflix and gaming and even going to the movies, even going to the restaurant, any type of thing that takes away from your time or grabs your attention and you allot time to it, because time is deflationary, you're not going to get that time back. So ultimately, that is the value, is your time. And I think that is the greatest point that they bring up in that video with Asmongold and Alana, that it's vying for our time. And can Wilder World do what they need to in order to grab a level of attention from people in the space to warrant them to continue to produce greater and greater games? Right now, they have a 3-year runway, and they've released their first level of product, which is Midnight in Miami, which is their racing game, which is available, which they already had a 20,000 winning prize pool in New York City. Currently there's a $60,000 dollar pool that everyone's vying for the next 4 weeks with Will's Arcade. You've got the Will's Arcade in Austin that will be at Consensus. Is that what it is? That people are going to be able to join the tournament and be able to try to get that. So it's a new version of play to earn. It's in its infant stages, obviously. There's going to be things like will staking. There's going to be winning a certain amount of wild after every race. And so if you're an incredibly good racer and you're constantly racing and, giving your attention, I think it's a really viable way to grab more people's attention, because not only are they purchasing something, they can earn that money back, as well as make an infinite more amount of money out of doing it. And so by reinvesting that time into it, you can actually earn a level of income in a way that most people really haven't ever been able to do. And so I think what Wilder World is doing is viable. So let's get into it as far as the roadmap. And I'm going to keep referring back to that video because I think it's a really interesting video that really speaks to the reasoning why Wilder World is doing what Wilder World is doing, if that makes sense. So here you can see the roadmap. And in the beginning, they just talk about, basically they want to change from saying the metaverse, that they want to say the simulation, because the simulation speaks more truly to what MEOWCHAIN, Zero, and Wilder World is doing, the technologies they're building, the products that they're rolling out, and the direction that they're going. And so here they talk about some of the principles that they have for the simulation is realism, concurrency, permissionless, and sovereign. Being sovereign, that individuals can be the ownership of the efforts that they put into the game, where you don't have someone like Microsoft that can come in and kind of take it away. You have the rights to it. And so I think that's really important for anyone to understand when they're looking at the efforts of Wilder World, Zero, and MEOWCHAIN, that they're really trying to take that huge, let's say, $3 trillion pie that Microsoft has, and they're saying, you know what, there's a lot of room where everyone can have a much bigger piece. And in that video with Alana and Osmond, they talk about how really it just becomes, is it profitable? And so Microsoft is such a huge company, they need much larger profits. Where, well, if it was a collective effort of everyone, from the gaming studio to the publisher, which is Microsoft, to the actual consumers and stuff, you wouldn't necessarily have to have that big of a pie in order to make it successful for everyone to continue on producing like a better version of, let's say, Midnight Miami, or a better version of the FPS shooter that's coming out, or a better version of the open world. The collective effort of everyone having a stake in it would help make the entire ship rise, is kind of the thought. And so that's why they're focusing on these principles, because these principles speak to the fundamentals of what Wilder World, Zero, and MEOWCHAIN are doing in order to change the system, to change from it shifting from a Microsoft to more of these indie type companies, or even a better, larger company that breaks up that pie in a way where more people win. And I think that's what the efforts will amount to ultimately in the end, if and only, just like Osmond likes to mention in his videos, is that you have to produce a good product. You have to. There's if it's not a good game, then it doesn't even matter. It's got to be a good game. And then it's up to the different types of companies, size of companies and stuff, that the profitability shifts and changes. It depends, right? If in this case everyone owns Wild and Wild backs everything, and Wild is slowly rising because of the value and the amount of energy being put into it, then I think everyone would be happy. And it's up to an individual to decide if they want to sell Wild or buy more Wild, or speculate on how well Wild will do once different versions of the game comes out. And it just kind of adds a new, unique way of looking at gaming, where it's kind of built in front of everyone. They speak within that video, Osmond and Alana, that we don't have all the data from Microsoft on the reasoning why they're closing down all these studios. But in a situation like this, we would have a vast amount of data. I mean, just look, you go over here, you can see all of the different devlogs that they come out that speak to a variety of things, from new team members that are joining the Wills team to, the different partnerships that we have that we'll get into here in a little bit. But this all speaks directly to kind of building something in front of a public, which is immensely more difficult than someone like Apple just releasing a new iPad like they just did a couple days ago, saying, hey, look, we just put a much more powerful chip into an iPad. Well, is that good? Is that bad? Like, how much can an iPad do with an M4 chip? What capabilities does it have? Is there value in that? That's up to a lot of different people, but you don't see the product until after they announce that it's created and released. And so for someone like Wilder World and Zero and MEOWCHAIN that are building right in front of the public, like there's got to be a lot more grace to the fact that it's much more difficult. It's just much more difficult because all of your successes, but also all of your failures are kind of out there. And I speak to it all the time. That's one of the reasons why I love Wilder World so much, is that the team takes accountability when they've made a wrong choice, but that they also say, this is how we're learning from it. This is what we want to do to improve. These are the changes we've enacted in order to improve. And then they move forward from there. And in my opinion, the outcome of those changes from a quote unquote, failure or poor choice or whatever you want to call it has ended up being better in the end. And I personally believe that they are headed in the right direction. And there might be some swerves and changes, some bumps in the road, but they're heading that direction. And they're actually producing when the vast amount of people, especially in this space, are not producing something. There is no product. We have a product. I've been playing it for a couple months now, and I actually really enjoy it. I'm not anywhere close to as good as some of the members of the community, but I really enjoy playing the game, and I cannot wait until there are a much larger group of people that can race, because that fits what I love. I love rubbing shoulders with other wilders and racing and laughing and just connecting with people while playing a game and while just enjoying our time together. And then you can shut that down and walk away and feel like that was a good use of time, where I decompressed from a lot of the choices or a lot of things I've been having to do in the day. And the whole reason why I jumped on the game, their success, it was fun, right? I feel like the investment I put into it is worth it. I feel like the time investment I put into it is worth it. And even the social investment I put into it is worth it. So I think all of that is beneficial. So to move on from that rant, I think these like principles that they have really speak to me individually, and I think have served them well. But they go into the importance of the ultimate game, right? Creating a good product. That's their vision. And so they talk about that it's not just about a racing game, that it's about other types of games. There's 4 different types of games: racing, RPG, combat, and mining, which is like SimCity. It's going to be much more connected to the building of Wyoming and the economic system that's going to be within Wilder World. And so they just want to talk about that. It's just incredibly important to build that foundation to create a good game. Otherwise, none of it's worth it. All of it is just a meme coin. It's just vapor. It's not really for anything. And so it's just something that really speaks to me personally, that these are their efforts, because the huge investment, in my opinion, my personal huge investment that I have in Wilder World, I feel a lot more secure. I feel a lot more safe in it. But I also understand, just like, Asmon talks about all the time in the video, it's a huge risk. It's a huge risk investing in a game. So I go into this with my eyes wide open. I'm not being bamboozled by any team. I'm not being bamboozled by any false promise in the future. Like, I read everything, I try to understand everything. That's why I create this content, is to share my thoughts, my opinions, and try to help educate a community to better understand what I feel like I understand. And I'll tell you, I've probably been wrong multiple times. I probably speak for the team in maybe a way that I shouldn't. I may even, I call myself the self-proclaimed simp for Wilder World. And I don't know, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. It's just that I'm passionate about it. And I have found that there are many members of the community that feel like, these educational points or my opinion or just the time I put into trying to help a new community better understand what it is, because I've had 3 years to look into this, read over this, reread over something, watch, hear other people's opinions. And so when new people come in, it can be extremely overwhelming to hear, like, what's MEOWCHAIN? Like, what's Zero? What are these different industries? What's the rewards program? What's Midnight in Miami compared to the Wheels Arcade? Like, what is all of this? And it can get kind of confusing. And so it's just important to break down and to simplify things and help people better understand. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here in this roadmap, that you look at the bigger picture of like what's going on in the gaming industry, and to help better understand why these like macro and micro decisions that the Wilder World team is doing, why they're making that to help make sure that the product can be as good and as fun and enjoyable as possible, while still you have to get into the hands of people. It can be the best game in the world, but if it doesn't get in front of people, it just doesn't even matter. And Wilder World understood that. That's why they took the bear market 2 years to just heads down grind, because it didn't even matter how much marketing they did. They would only get a very small amount of attention on the game. And so they focused on creating a great product. Now we're getting into a time where within this space, it's known to have this cycle where a lot more attention is about to come into the space. And so this is a perfect time to have the product created, to be testing the product for release to a mass public, and then to release it to the mass public, to the masses, to the public. And there's a process to do that, but you have to make decisions. And sometimes one of those decisions can make or break what the success of a game like Wilder World. And so we have to give the team a little bit of grace to understand like what is the right choice, what's the best choice. And you know what? I know for a fact that they will take full accountability on both sides, if it succeeds or if it fails. They looked at the information, they made decisions, they moved forward, and they want to do right by the community. And sometimes that works out, and maybe sometimes it doesn't. And what we all hope is that they have the right kind of team members around to limit the risk of something not succeeding. And that's what we're trying for. And so 2 important points I've ranted on about: 1, creating a great product, and 2, making sure that it gets in front of people. And I think this is the exact thing that Osmond would agree with, is that you have to have those 2 things. It has to be a great game, and you have to get in front of people. People have to play it. And I think that's what Wilder World is doing. And that's what they're like speaking to in the beginning of this roadmap is, here's our principles. We want to create a great game. We feel like we've had the start of that with Midnight in Miami. And that's not it, right? Like here, they go into talking about like racing is the first one. Mining will be the second one. Combat will be the third game. And then it's going to be this open world RPG where you'll have quests and you'll be able to explore the world. And there'll be a little bit more of like that other part of GTA where you're able to just kind of roam around the city and have different things to do. And it should be a lot of fun. There's a lore behind it now, right? There's like the story behind it that is really fun with the forum, but the forum may not necessarily be the main, evil group. There might be someone behind. So there's this espionage. There's this like buildup of tension. There's going to be breaking the breach of the gate, which has its own connection to like the economy and the reasoning why Wilder World was created. And so there's this like whole world being created. And so it's incredible to kind of see the seeds of all this, of how this new IP could really jump off, and it could like feed into this like need for gamers, something that they want. And right now, the hard thing is that we're watching them build in the public. And so like we want them to go faster and faster and faster, like release, like we want to see it, we want to do it. But ultimately, really in the end, what we want is that it is an incredible game, that the product is good, and that we're not the only ones playing. We want it to get in front of millions of gamers so that we can enjoy the game even more. Not just monetarily, but also socially. We want to be able to enjoy hearing from other people the fun things they're doing, see how people are playing the game and using the game, and finding new ways to explore Miami and utilize the economy and all of those things. It just improves everything around to get that type of feedback, to implement it in new ways, and be able to utilize the tools and the entertainment in ways that we never thought of ourselves. And so, in my opinion, it's exciting. And so here, they just talk about the 4 different games that they're going to be coming out with. They explain more or less in what, how they're going to be released, like what games are going to be released first and whatnot. They start talking about here, they're talking about why Wilder World game is going to be set apart from other like racing games like Need for Speed 2, which I think everyone would say is probably the game closest to Wilder World as far as look and feel and whatnot. And here they line out like how it can be competitive with other gaming companies or other well-known AAA games. They go in to talk about the Domino roadmap. We heard about Dominoes and how they'll be released. And so Dominoes has been incredible. A vast amount of information has come out from the team over the last 5.5 months. And I don't think any of us can say that the team hasn't been producing. The team hasn't been showing what they've been working on for 18 months, which we'll get into a little bit more in depth here in a second. But they go on to talk about that, Operation Domino is going to be in 3 acts. Right now we're in Act 1. I would say we're probably halfway through Act 1, maybe a little bit past Act 1. I think we should be further along, which we'll kind of get into too. But we've made some great progress. They've been promising releasing like the progress, like the official progress. But we'll kind of go over what I understand as far as the progress that I've seen. But here on the roadmap, it just shows how the dominoes will go. Here you can kind of see some of these like little tick marks that represent like dominoes. How, and this is when it was released. We're into the racing, the foundation's being built. We haven't heard any more about mining or land, so we're not close to Act 2, which that's going to be more of like the economic section of this entire like Operation Domino with the 3 different acts. Right now we're in Act 1, which would be what it says here, like the foundation, the fundamentals. And so some of the things released, I just want to kind of go over quickly. You've got Devlog 5, which goes over how Midnight in Miami was built and how far along it is, and that everything in it is doing really well. Then like the first big like domino announcement, which was NVIDIA GeForce, which again, this speaks to how are we going to get this good product in front of as many people as possible. and how can we limit the difficulty of like the barrier to get to play the game, so you don't have to have this highly expensive gaming rig, where you're able to just kind of get in and play and just break down those barrier of entry into playing Wilder World. NVIDIA was one of the first one, which is being able to stream your GPU, allowing you to essentially have a much better gaming rig without purchasing a much better gaming rig. And so then you would be able to play something like Wilder World or other top games that, you know, require a little bit more GPU power that you don't personally have. And you can pick from 3 different. There's like a free version, and then like a middle version, and then like this like great version, which is like having an incredibly great gaming rig to be able to stream and utilize it. I haven't used it. I don't know how well it works, but it's an ability. It's partnering with the right people to help make it possible without having to spend multi-thousands of dollars. So that's an option. Then you have the welcoming of 2 new team members, Ari and Marcus, or Eris and Marcus. They have been awesome. They have been in the community giving tips, sharing what they're going to be doing. I mean, they're incredibly knowledgeable. They're like 2 of 5 people that know what they know in sim racing, and we have 2 of them. 2 of them are on the Wilder World team. I think that's pretty incredible. And that goes to creating a great product, right? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a great product. Create product on a new system, while trying to get it in front of as many people as possible. So it's great having them on the team. Then there's the concurrency issue of having multi-thousands of people in one area, in one space, and being able to still not lose quality in being able to play the game. And so here they have teamed up with Metagravity. This is all part of Act 1, right? So they teamed up with Metagravity to help improve that. Metagravity is working with other people like Star Atlas and Earth 2 to be able to solve the same problems. So I think that's great. Then when you are on blockchain and you're having to make transactions, if you're just doing it with Ethereum, you're never going to get a game off the ground. You're just never going to do it because it's going to cost way too much, and people are going to be so confused. You've got to make it as seamless as possible. And so they've teamed up with Polygon and Celestia in order to help create MEOWCHAIN, which will be a gasless network to be able to build games that like play to earn games. Just massive scale games that need a new system, that need a new platform, that need a new way to go about to provide different features to help gain the attention of mass people and bring them into a new way of gaming. Again, they understand what Alana and Osmond were talking about, and that's what they're trying to resolve here. Are they going to be successful? It seems like they're being successful in solving the problems. We're still working on making sure that everything is cohesive and works well together, and it's a good experience for everybody. So we go on to see other things. They teamed up with Superverse, which is a Web3, basically a networking group. They're trying to utilize their token to be able to bring in some of the best games, like off-grid or off the grid or something like that, which looks like an incredibly great option to a Web3 game that if you like something like Call of Duty. And it looks like they're doing a great job in producing that game. And so you have these other studios and communities building these great games. And why not come together so that you can help other people see other options and utilize a token within the Web3 space where, say, you've invested in the super token that it can go cross-platform and be able to be utilized. And again, creating a seamless like experience for gamers, for people interested in playing these games. Again, providing a new system, a new way to play a video game, play and utilize your time, where it's a much better investment on time, your social investment, and especially your economic investment. So Super just kind of helps with that like networking group of bringing top games together and kind of utilizing that network to get the word out for everybody to more seamlessly play Web3 games. Essentially, that's what it is. It's just trying to make this type of gaming relevant, which is more of a play to earn type of style, more relevant. And it requires working with some of the best people in the space. And so I think it's a great option. And then there was Wilder World Epic Games, which with their their launch pad of being able to launch games through their system. Obviously, they know games. They have a large amount of very successful games, especially Fortnite. They are helping with some of the best gaming engines with Unreal Engine. And so since the team felt that since they were using Unreal version 5, that it seemed seamless to go and also use their launch. I think right now we're number 23 of the wish list for games on Epic Games Store, which I think is pretty incredible. I won't lie. I mean, I think if we break the top 10, there's going to be a huge party. And if we make it all the way to number 1, like we're trying to do. So if you haven't done it, I'm going to leave it in the description. Go and sign up, whatever. Click the wish list button. Get wish listed for Wilder World. Help Wilder World become number 1. But it's about getting it in front of as many people. And I think just it moving up the charts gets attention. I know there's been a couple people that have come into the community because they just went and they noticed the game and they're like, oh, this seems interesting. And they started, going to the Discord and asking questions and kind of learning a little bit more about it, which I think is incredible. It's already working. It's already getting in front of more people than otherwise. And so moving on from there, then another really big partnership was Samsung within Act 1. Samsung was huge. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. And what does this even mean? And the incredible thing is that Samsung is going about the like Web3 space in a very smart way. And they're trying to approach it with intention. And the intention that they have made is that they want to make it possible. So follow me with this. They want to make it possible that on every single one of their smart screens, you will be able to access a game like Wilder World and be able to play it. So if you think about it, you've got the screen. You can get a controller, any type of Xbox, PlayStation, Razer controller, connect it, and use a service like NVIDIA GeForce and be able to play a game. You don't have to have an Xbox. You don't have to have a gaming rig. You just have to have a screen, a controller, and internet access, and you would be able to start playing games. Again, breaking down the barrier and making it possible for everybody to be able to access these types of games. And so for Wilder World to be one of I think there were 6 or 7, World of Women was one, Polygon was one, Illuvium was one. I can't remember some of the others, but there wasn't a huge group. And these are the companies or the projects that Samsung trusted to help launch a new possibility of product for people. And then if it gets big enough, then I would envision that you can go to Best Buy. Now they're in Best Buys. Now they're showing products that you can get on this new type of gaming screen, or displaying your NFTs or Web3, however they want to market it. And now Wilder World is getting marketed in other areas, which is getting Wilder World in front of as many eyes as possible. That's what the team is trying to do. Every individual is going to make their own choice if they find the product to be intriguing enough. That's the make sure the product is good. Then get it in front of as many people as possible and make it possible that as many people as possible can play, which is like NVIDIA GeForce and Polygon and Celestia, as well as bringing on incredible team members in order to make sure that the game is a great product. Again, all of these like little pieces are all interconnecting in order to basically do three things. And we've talked about this: to create a new system, to create a quality product, and to get it in front of as many people as possible. That is what Wilder World is trying to do at the base core. And so I think it's incredible. So that's some of the things kind of going on. If you look at like what the team has been doing, you can look at this roadmap and go through. We've already got devlog 5, we got devlog 6. I believe devlog 7 was the one that just came out. We did get a Wilder Midnight in Miami trailer. Looks like we maybe get another one. I would assume that's going to come. Maybe we've already gotten that one. I mean, there's been a lot that have come out with, like when they released Epic Games, a different kind of take on a trailer came out. When they released Samsung, I think another one came out. And so I don't know if those are trailers or not trailers or whatever. I mean, there was one with Ernesto Salvaje, and he, I think that was the official trailer. And so it looks like there's going to be another one and then a third one. I would imagine this third one is when we release to the public. And then we have this other one that I imagine maybe at the consensus for the Wills Arcade. I'm not sure. But this is where I feel like we may be behind. I think we've gotten 1.0 devlog. And it seems like we're almost to the Games Beat Summit and consensus. And so we haven't seen another 0 devlog since. Also down here, we haven't seen the testnet. So I think we may be behind on some things and on track with others. And so all the events have gone really well. GDC went really well. NFT New York went really well. So now we have the Games Beat Summit and the consensus coming up, and then there's NFT London. So, I mean, some of these things are going really smoothly. We did get devlog 7. We get one every single month. So I don't know if these were just kind of put on there because they have done a great job with devlogs as far as like Wilder World goes. We were supposed to get one every month. And I mean, if we go back here, I think devlog 4 on February 15th was the last time we got one about 0. And so that means we didn't get one in March, April, and we're in May. So we'll have to see if we get any more from them on that. So, looking further on kind of what's going on with the devlogs and that, what are these other, I have to like look, some of the educational things, strategy decks. There's these rides they talked about. I don't know exactly what that is. Is this progress on the wheels being improved on? I don't know if that's what these rides is referring to, which they've released it, I think 3 different devlogs. They've talked about the changes that they're making to the looks of the wheels. And so maybe that's what these are. I don't know. They would have to officially come out and say. We've got alliances. So, I mean, we've talked about a lot of them from NVIDIA to all the way to Samsung. And so there's some really cool things here. It looks like we've got about 5 or 6 other ones coming through that are all going to fall within one of those 3 things: building a new system, building a great product, getting as many people in front of the game as possible. We have been doing good with these spaces. There's been a lot of spaces, a lot more communication or conversations with other people. We've got a lot more influencers. I think they call them ambassadors coming on and doing things. So I think this space, this like progress in Act 1 has been doing really well. We had one artist and architect within Discord, then we had another one out on Spaces. I imagine that this next one, we haven't had this third one yet. It seems like we're getting really close to the other one. I know Neo just had a baby, so maybe there's a little bit of like, let's give him some grace. He just had his first kid. Let him take a little break. He's been like nonstop. And any of us who are parents know how important being a parent is. I think that is the most important thing he could be doing, is supporting his wife and supporting his newborn child and being a father and whatnot. So I think me personally, I can give a whole lot of grace because I drop a lot in order to make sure my kids' needs are met. So I think we can be okay with that, and we're still chugging along. It's not like everything stops because Neo stops, but I know Neo is a fundamental part, along with Frank and other team members, in making sure that everything runs smoothly. So we have that and the spaces, and then we have the different releases. We're on track. We got like Midnight in Miami. I don't know what ZOS. I don't know. I know ZOS. I know they've made updates to the Explorer. Like you can go in and now, what are the new things you can do? You can destroy a world on the UI. You can change ownership, and you can change if it's public or private, and how they pay, if it's via a fixed cost or fluctuating cost based on the number of letters in the domain. We don't have testnet yet, so that's still not here. I haven't heard anything about mobile, so don't know anything about that. So some of this stuff hasn't been progress. It's in the wind. I don't know, like ZOS plus. Oh, 0.4. Okay, yeah. So this is Midnight in Miami. It's Wilder World, right? But we are right here in the middle. If you go up and you look at how things are, we're right before this devlog, Miami trailer. Like all of that's lining up. So we may be. I think we're progressing well. I think maybe we're a little behind. I would say maybe a week or two behind. Where the team may be, which I think we can give them a little bit of grace on that. But it looks like things are going well. So some of the things that it looks like we can look out is Explorer 4.0, which is for 0, ZOS, and Wild World 0.4, which I know is getting like, instead of 1v1, it's going to be 1v2, 1v3 at least. We'll probably get another track, maybe another car. I don't know. There's some leaks of some pretty cool looking cars that may be added to the track, but they have to be balanced. So I know Neo has mentioned one of the hardest thing is balancing all the cars and making sure that all the specs are right and whatnot. So grateful that we have a team that knows how to do that, and so we're looking forward to that. See, other things to look forward to, obviously just updates to everything. I think some of the biggest updates, I think MEOWCHAIN testnet, I would say, is the most anticipated right now, because that's a huge fundamental piece to it, especially for a release of everything. But they've added wallets now to the UI on Midnight in Miami. So I think we're kind of testing. I think we're kind of testing the MEOWCHAIN within the mild within Midnight in Miami. So there is some progress to this, but it's hard to say. What else can we kind of talk about on here? Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to look. Everything is just kind of generic. There's going to be more trailers, there's going to be more alliances, there's going to be more conversation with the spaces, there's more of the product being released, right? We have ZOS plus, like there's things to be looking forward to. We just don't know the specifics behind what it is. Like, what is it that we should be anticipating? What is it that is going to be released? But pretty soon we'll find out. Those are what the dominoes are for. That's when a domino falls. That's when we find out a little bit more information. So anyways, moving on. Some of the things to understand about the different acts. The way I would look at Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 is Act 1 is like the foundation. In order to make it possible, let's say the product and the starting of the marketing, right? Act 2 goes into more of the economic version, right? They're releasing a new economic system. So there's sovereign economic theory, which is they're calling SET, which is the theory behind how they want like economy governed, the different type of models, like big picture stuff, right? Then you have the general autonomous tensor environment, or GATE, right? Which is basically how like zero and everything at a not this huge, but a little bit inward, right? Bring in the large scale thinking of how economies can work within like a game or within a system for people. And so people can then utilize that information for GATE to see how that would work within their own world, within their own system. Then you have Metropolis, and this will be Metropolis version 2, which is Wild World utilizing SET and GATE in order to be a proof of concept of how these things can work. And so we're told that if we want to kind of see how the economy will slightly work, we can go to EVE Online, which is mind-blowing because there's a lot to it. But when you're thinking about a digital city and a nation state being created, you have to have those types of things. Because if you broke down the economy of the US and the economy of the world, it would confuse a whole lot of people. So not a lot of people are going to be terribly concerned, except for those looking to optimize and kind of get ahead of the curve and kind of front run the system in order to kind of be an example to how they can utilize it, to create content behind it, to, do whatever. I mean, that's kind of what I personally am doing. I'm educating people because and we're all trying to front run and to try to get ahead of being able to utilize the future of this new system before millions of people come on to start utilizing it as well. So I think it's an incredible part of Wilder World, or of this roadmap to look into, the importance of trade and earning and resources and having power to vote in some type of direction. And so Wild powered. Everything is backed by Wild, which is in its own is what will allow that huge, let's just use Microsoft as an example, that huge $3 trillion, behemoth of a company, those pieces of the pie would be broken up much more into those that actually build, use, and contribute to that ecosystem. And right now, the team behind Wilder World is the only team really producing that product but in time with SDKs and whatnot, other people will either be able to build within Wilder World, or they'll be able to build on Zero and connect worlds with Wilder World. And those worlds become galaxies. Those galaxies become universe. And over time, that's the new system built. And it's all built with decentralization. And even though there is always going to be some level of centralization, this just helps decentralize it more than what we currently understand with Web 2 and the current systems that we're in. So just understand that there's a huge gap between where it can be and where it is now, and there's going to have to be steps along the way. But this is what Act 2 is all going to be about. And Act 2, a huge part of it will be mining and land and the utilization of other NFTs like the PAL industry, where we'll get gens and we'll get, I'm sure beings will be released so that we can help build Wilder World. You'll have avatars released in Act 3, where basically this is where we'll be able to create, in my mind, I think this is where we get to customize and create our identity once we enter into the larger world of Wyoming, because eventually Wyoming will be opened up and Little Meow will be opened up. Wyoming is the biggest city, right? It's the larger city at scale, basically Miami, right? And then you have a neighborhood, Little Meow, that will be opened up on the island, that basically where all the Genesis land will be released. And that's kind of like the first open world experimentation testing will be on that island. And once some of the kinks are worked out and more product is created and the larger world at whole and more people are coming in and utilizing the product of Wilder World and Zero and MEOWCHAIN, then we'll be able to expand that more into the city of Wyoming. And so that's the exciting part of watching it grow in front of the public. So here, this part of the roadmap just talks about the avatar creator. They keep releasing different sneak peeks in this and everything that they'll be able to utilize. We as the community, the client, the consumer, how we'll be able to create our avatar for whatever purpose we want, because there's going to be a racer, a miner, a hacker, and a defender at first. And obviously each one of those sounds like will contribute in its different ways. Racer probably will get a little bit some perks with racing. You'll have a defender that might get a little bit of perks with first person shooter. You've got a hacker that may be able to help with like closing the gates and some of the real open world type stuff. And then you've got the miner that will help with some of the economical, the economy, the development of the economy within Wilder World, some types of perks that go along with it. So whatever you want. Someone like myself who's kind of had the opportunity and the blessing to be able to invest early and build over time, I hope to have personally all 4 of these for all reasons, because I want to be able to, go in and experience all of these things and help bring to you more information about what I see and what I learn, and kind of have this like partnership with Wilder World and helping educate the people in my personal experience and the things I learn. I'm not going to be the best at everything, but I think my skills and my talents lie in like trying to educate. And so that's why you would come to me. If you want like how to be the absolute best driver right now, the person producing the content to help you best do that would be like Madurik, right? So, there's so much room for other content creators to get even more specific. Right now, I'm kind of generalizing into the 3 sister companies and helping educate and break down those complexities into more manageable bits of information. So as we keep going on, just keeps talking about the customization that we'll be able to have. And then we kind of get into Simulation OS. I really enjoyed this part of the roadmap. If you think about all the other systems of Android and Apple Mac OS, you have to have an operating system in order to make these things happen. And if you're building a new system, you have to have a new operating system. And so that's what they're building. And it's Simulation OS. It's to allow people to be able to build simulations on blockchain. And they're trying to produce the technologies in order to make that happen. And so they break down, from the chain to the protocols, to the economy, the OS, the world, and the universe, which basically is building the technologies so that overall the products and the utility can function seamlessly and it provide a great experience for any user. And so they just go into depth of what each one of these are, right? And there's a lot of information that you could delve out of this, which we're not going to do in this video, but you can just see the efforts that they're making with Zodes, with ZXP, with the economy, with making sure that the operating system and the apps are going to be working, that the core system works for the world of Wilder World, and how they're like taking this new technology and bringing it into Wilder World and making sure that a product can use all of these tools in order to produce a better product than what we're used to. So I think all of this is incredible to be able to watch. It's like watching Apple build in the public, and not just via media outlets, but actually have them release logs saying this is what we're doing, these are the details of how we're doing it, right in front of their competitors, right in front of the public, and they're not ashamed to do it. And I think it is awesome, to be able to be a firsthand witness to how everything's developed. I mean, I went from just not knowing who Frank Wilder was to learning about him through my brother, to hearing them talk about wheels, to deciding, my brother and I deciding that we would mint them, to then deciding as a family we're going to build a DAO to encompass everything we're doing, to then watching everything from motos and gens and wapes and beasts and all these other industries. I mean, we minted a craft, like all of these things we've been able to watch. And now we watch the release of Midnight in Miami, which is the first like actual gaming product, which is something more than the vast majority of other projects can say they got accomplished. And so as much as some people want to complain about the process and stuff, I think the team deserves a lot of credit for everything they've had to put up with and what they've been through in order to get to this point. And they haven't failed. They've succeeded. Now, have they reached the ultimate success, getting in front of millions of people? Not yet. But I think they're on the right path. And to go back to that Asmongold and Alana, I actually have it here. Alana, I don't know who she is. This is the first time. I know she has a lot of followers. I like to play games, but I've been out of the gaming industry for a long time. But this is who it is. So anyways, Alana. I was saying it right in the beginning, but it's Alana Pierce. Sorry, Alana, if you ever not watched this video. I didn't mean to get your name wrong, but she goes into it in this video right here. This isn't the video that, I mean, I watched the one with Asmongold, the one that I was at. Oh yeah, this one. So, I mean, I like watching Asmongold. I like watching him, talk about what's being discussed, either about World of Warcraft or gaming in general. But I think this is a great video for you to be able to go and watch and to understand. Like I mentioned, there are big companies, big gaming studios being shut down by even bigger publishers like Microsoft because they're not making a big enough profit. And that's what they're about. They're about making profit. They're not about the creativity. They're not about it being, a great game. They're a large corporation, and they're about one thing, and that is, quarter after quarter, increasing their profitability. And if they see an area that they're not making a profit, they're going to cut you. They're not going to think twice about it. But what that does is it opens up an opportunity for someone like Wilder World to be able to produce a good game, to be able to meet the needs of gamers, and to be able to provide that product that they're not familiar with, but sounds kind of interesting. You get a couple hundred people, then those couple hundred people are able to bring on another couple thousand people until you have a couple million people playing your game, and a new era of gaming emerges where you have high quality AAA games built on a new system where you can truly incentivize your community with play to earn, and that $3 trillion keeps the attention of people on your games, because not only are they playing and having fun, they're also socializing and having fun, and they're also making money and having fun. This is the ultimate goal for someone like Wilder World, to be able to produce the products. And then once you have multiple million people playing your games and doing that, then things like MEOWCHAIN and Zero have a proof of concept that they can then help other people produce great games right alongside them, and provide a system that other companies can build on to be able to produce the games that will help keep the attention of other people by producing good, fun, and high quality games. That's the whole purpose. That's what the roadmap explains. This is essentially what it is broken down. So I'm glad I watched that video, because it gave me the spark of like how to like approach this in a way that maybe community members might find interesting. So I appreciate the time. I know this is a longer video. I hope you found value in it. If you did, please like, comment, share it with other people. Help other people come to better understand what Wilder World, Zero, and MEOWCHAIN are doing. Help me reach a larger audience. I mean, I'm not afraid to, or I'm not going to be shameful in saying like, you know, I hope you do. I hope you do. I hope that my content can get in front of people. And it isn't about fame. Like, I'm already invested in Wilder World. If Wilder World succeeds, I'm going to succeed. But more eyes, the better. It helps get it out until someone sees it, and then it can blow up and be a better, we can all be better for it. I don't know. Like, am I trying to grow my audience? Yes. That's the whole point of like building content. Am I trying to improve my content creation? Absolutely. Am I for everybody? Absolutely not. But I want to educate people in the thing I'm passionate about, which is Wilder World, MEOWCHAIN, and Zero, and what they're trying to build and how they're trying to break into a very successful gaming community. And I think we can take Wilder World, Zero, and MEOWCHAIN to a place where we cut a huge piece of that $3 trillion Microsoft pie and produce something great. Because could you imagine if Microsoft decides that they're done with Wilder World? Do I think it's going to have... sorry, not Wilder World. With World of Warcraft. Too many world in the name. World of Warcraft. Could you imagine if they just like axed Blizzard and they said, you know what, with all the things that have happened and the scandals and the decline, and we're not producing the games like we should, we're closing down shop. We're done with this. I mean, where would all those people's attention go? Where would they go? They would be looking. Out of millions of people that play the game, you think we can't get, you know, a few thousand of them to pay attention to Wilder World and what they're doing? And then if we open up our, you know, RPG and MMO type style gaming, and it is of good quality, you know, the opportunities are there. We never know. But you focus on two things: build a great product, get it in front of as many people as possible, and make the technology as seamless as possible so that you don't have huge barriers to entry. Do those things, you'll find a success. But I just want to say thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you listening to all my bits about the roadmap and about the gaming industry. But don't forget that the most important bits are the bits found in each one of you.